the new time and new frame of life and the events that are going on and what God's in control of. We have to put God in control. We have to keep Him there. And sometimes we question things in life and we wonder, what does God have? What's the purpose of it? And we become to that point in life where we want everything quickly and we want to, we want answers. Um, I've been thinking long and hard about all the teachings and stuff that the Lord gave. And the one that keeps coming to my head is the ATM. We use God for an ATM, but the question that keeps coming back to my mind is, why is it that sinners, me being one, I've come through that that time frame. Why is it that we blame God and ask God why? Why is this happening? Why is this person dying? Why is this person got sickness? Why is this person living the life they're living? Cancer or whatever. The thing of it is, what does God really owe us? I mean, what kind of explanation does He owe us? Why do we think we can sin and do the things that we do and God owes us anything? God sent His perfect Son to die on that cross. God sent Him to give you forgiveness. God sent Him to have that opportunity to seek Him. God sent Him to die on a cross, and the most horrific thing that you could ever experience, it would put every scary movie into one bunch and still would not hold a candle to what Jesus did to go to that cross, what He had to go through to go to that cross, what He had to come to terms with to be able to do what He did. You may say, well, Nelson, He's the Son of God. He's Jesus. He can do all things. Yes, He can do all things, but He also became man. He became flesh. He started like us. Otherwise, why would Jesus say, Father, if take this from me? But then quickly, what does He say? Let Thy will be done. So you have to kind of battle this back and forth in your mind. It's kind of like a sinner. A sinner doesn't want to follow God's ways. A sinner doesn't want to live under God's ways. But a sinner, when something goes wrong, God, fix it. God, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why is this happening? Anybody ever think about that? It's a long process of whys. It's a long process of where we are and where God sits. So if we're here, God's looking upon the world and looking at the creation that He created. How pleased do you think He is? If you go back to Sodom and Gomorrah, how pleased was He with that to destroy it? I would imagine not too pleased. He flooded the earth. What did He give in the symbol of His promise? The rainbow. What do we take it as people do? We make it about gay lifestyle. If He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, then why take the symbol of His promise and make a mockery out of it? That's what I don't understand this. I don't understand people's thinking. I don't understand why everything has to become the way it is, but I do understand it. I'm trying to give you a way to think about it in your own thought there for a minute, going, yeah, this makes it, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then why does it happen? We can have that moment in life where we see something happening or we see something changing and we just sit there and go, somebody else is going to take care of this. We hear somebody screaming next door and we think it's none of my concern. It's not my business. I remember a time down in Florida, we were living on Linda Circle, and the people next door, the guy was kind of friendly at times, and times he wasn't, and I really didn't do much or say much unless he was saying hi or something or waving, and I would just wave. And if he came out and talked, I would talk to him. But the weird thing about it is, um, one night I remember sitting there, and the kids, they had like a little fenced in area right off their back. I mean, it was almost like a little tiny area. I mean, it was tiny, and I didn't even know they had kids until one day I was out there. I was mowing the grass, and I just got done and just sat down, and I'm just thinking about, I had one, I think 1 or 2 more days left off before I head back on the road, and I was just sitting there thinking in my head, going, I never knew they had kids. What a sad life that they have to be inside that house or in that little play area thing. I mean, most dog kennels are bigger than that place was. Why I'm telling you this, because one night they got in a big argument, and I heard the kids, because where my driveway was, that their room, I take it, was right there, and I heard them screaming, "Mommy, no! Why are you doing this to me, mommy? Why are you doing this, mom? Please stop, daddy, make her stop, daddy, make her stop. Why are you doing this?" And that it's haunted me, because I seen him grab a bag. He carried out a bag and he left with another car. And he just stared at me, and I'm staring at him. Why? All the meanwhile, listening to his kids scream for him to help him. And he just, I mean, like, I'm looking in this camera right now. I mean, he's like staring right at me like this. If this hand was him, we're staring. We're eye to eye. We are locked up. And all I kept thinking was, those are your kids. Those are your kids. Well, if you're not going to do anything, it's not my problem. It was my problem. I believe Jesus put me there to make that my problem, to make those kids not have to go through that no more. So I've been examining myself, and I've been asking Jesus to examine me, because I don't know if tomorrow's going to come for me. I just know I got a lot of sleepless nights, and I got a lot of time to think, and I got a lot of time to write stuff, and I got a lot of time to pray. I just know there's so many wrongs with this world, and I know there's so many wrongs with what's going on right now. It's people are quick to judge. People are quick to see what they want to see. People are quick to see, not looking at what changed all of a sudden in their lives. Wait a minute, why is this different? Uh, you know, Satan wants to keep using you did something wrong. It's your fault. That's why things changed. Well, yes and no, I guess. Depends on what the problem is, and depends on what you're going through. Keep scratching, man. But God didn't send His Son to have us perish. God didn't send His Son to have us walk in sin. God didn't send His Son for us to sit here and complain about everything in life. Think about it. I mean, really put a lot of thought into all this, okay? If you really think that God has done all this for those reasons, then I guess we're worse off than what we really think. Because if God wanted us to fail, then He would have never sent Jesus. Satan wants you to fail. Satan wants you to feel like you don't have no purpose, you don't exist, and there's too much of this going on. I mean, there's too much of this going on, and we keep going around this hamster wheel until we figure out that no, I have to make a difference. I have to make a difference in this world. I got to make a difference in this life, and the only way we can figure that out is prayer. Ask God, what does He have for you? What does Jesus expect me to do today? Well, Jesus expects me to be that light in that darkness. Jesus expects me to help people carry their crosses. But instead, we're so worried, and we're going into this area, this avenue, because something just doesn't seem right. So if it doesn't seem right to you because of things that you've lived in your past, or things you may have done, or things you may have seen, you cannot go through a life living like that. The Lord said you become the false accuser yourself. See, Satan's full of that. How can you sit there and think that you're not a false accuser, but you have thoughts in your heads? And even though here's the thing, even though you say you trust somebody, but yet in that concept, if you can even have thoughts like that, you really don't. And that's the thing of this broken area in your life. See, there's something broken in you that's never been fixed. You cannot say that you are completely healed. God completely healed you of your pain in your past, or you've totally let go of things in your past. If you still feel like whatever goes on in your life, there's a connection to your past. See, that's Satan. I'm telling you right now, that's not God. That's Satan. Because God says in the Bible that he will forgive you of all things. And it's erased from your life. The only way it's brought back into your life, two ways, I should say. One, that you bring it back to God's table. Then it's back in his time. So now, if you sin again, then you're stuck with that sin again. Now you got to repent. Two is if you bring it to Satan's table, and he's going to use it over and over and over against you. Because once you open that Pandora's box to him, what do you think is going to happen in your life? I mean, seriously, what do you think is going to happen? It's just going to drag you down that rabbit hole, and you're going to fall down that hole chasing that white rabbit, and you're going to drink that magic potion. Life's done. Or is it? God has a bigger purpose and plan. I've been thinking about this September 22nd, 23rd, 24th, whatever it is. And so many people now are starting to come against it. It's funny how we go from 1 minute, everybody's on this bandwagon. Now all of a sudden, people are starting to come against it. Now you got people starting to come against it. It's becoming more and more. It just doesn't make any sense. Do I believe that people are hearing this from God? I can't say no, unless I really know, because that would be lying. That would be falsely accusing. Exactly what I've been just sitting here talking about. We got to be careful of how we falsely accuse people. We got to be careful of how we point fingers. You don't know what someone's going through all day long. I'm to the point, some days I just don't even want to move. I wish I can go to sleep at night. I can't. I try. I come down here and lay down and just lay there. Then I had to get up. So then I start bringing out boxes, because then I start looking at these orders I got to fill. And I'm sitting there thinking, how am I going to do this with these boxes I have? They're not big enough, because for some reason this site doesn't it doesn't make sense how they expect you to ship all this stuff in one shipment. These boxes are getting ridiculous. But hold on a minute. Let me see who keeps sending this message. It's my sister. Doesn't surprise me. The calling hours of Lucifer. Calling hours of Satan. Get you when you're tired, get you when you're weak, get you when you're beaten down, get you when you're broken. See, we're broken to a point. We're broken until we figure out what's broken in us. Sometimes God shows you right in front of you. Sometimes God will have somebody speak the same thing over your life over and over and over. But why? Because we're not listening. So if you don't listen to the first messenger, he has to bring somebody else to send it. If you don't listen to that, he's got to bring somebody else. And how many people, I can understand now when Jesus spoke, how much longer do I have to be with you? Because Jesus had a bigger purpose. Jesus had a bigger plan. He had to go back and rebuild the new kingdom. How much longer shall I be with you? Because they didn't listen. We're not listening. You think maybe this September, what it was the calling home? I do. I do. I truly do. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree, because we got this reddish color moon coming up this month in October. We got that new moon or whatever it is, and then we got two more moons happening before the end of this year. So, does that have to do anything? Well, yes, because look at the signs of the skies, he says. You will know. But what if? Just what if? What if we're not ready? Is it God's fault? Should God just say, okay, uh, out of all these people, I find 500,000 people. That's it. That's all I'm going to bring. The rest of them, I don't care. Whether they fulfill the purpose in the end or they get their head cut off to prove that they truly were, but well, whether you're one of those ones, well, I don't care as long as I make it into heaven. That's a great way to think. So you're willing to take that scale. I'm not willing to take that scale. I'm not. I don't want to take that chance. As long as I make it into heaven. That's not a way to live. It's not a way to give God the glory that he truly deserves. Because we're too busy sticking him in a box. We're too busy keeping him in that box. We're too busy leaving him where he's been most of our lives. You may say, Nelson, no, I don't believe in that. Um, well, how much pain have you been through in life? When you shed a tear, he sheds a tear. Jesus. When he gathers your tears, he's gathering his tears. When you go into that wash area and you're being washed, and he dumps that bottle of your tears in there, and then they pull off this big giant vase of his tears, the angels, and start dumping it in. Because when we stop crying, he's still crying. He's still crying for those things that happened to you. He's still crying for your thoughts and your actions and the things that we have done. So many of us, I hear all the time people say, wow, wow, I love Jesus. I love Jesus with all my heart. Do you? I'm so glad that God doesn't love the way some of the people love. I'm serious. I'm so glad that God doesn't love us like we claim to love him. I'm so glad that God doesn't love us and sent us a lamb instead of Jesus, because we know the lambs can turn into a sheep. Isn't it the same thing? I don't think so. Because when you look back, and next thing you know, it's neither one. Is it a goat? No, it's a wolf. It's always been a wolf. See, and that's where the watchers come in. They trick you into seeing what you want to see. They trick you into believing what you want to believe. They know you from the little tiny time you were being molded and sculpted in your mother's womb. But it's up to you. It is up to you to decide where you're going to fit in that timeline. Somebody says, "Well, what difference does it make if I'm not going to die and I'm not going to starve? I mean, if I'm not going to die from starvation or die from being thirsty, then okay, well then I won't have to play. I won't have to do anything, and I'm still not going to die." But you don't understand. Could you right now physically tell me if that's your thinking? Do you really think you could go 4 days right now without food, without going into that very, very hungry? I'm so hungry. Because here's what happens: you become irritable, you become weak, you become tired. You all these things go in there, but you're gonna feel all that. You're gonna feel everything you're going through: tired, weakness, and drowsiness, and sick to your stomach. You're gonna feel like something's in there twisting your stomach around, and you're gonna be thirsty. You're gonna have the issues from that every day. It's just gonna increase, just like in hell. It's just gonna increase. You see why God's showing you all that. So you're gonna have to endure through all that, plus whatever else they do to you while you're here. Do you really think you're that strong? You're not even that strong now. You're not even that strong right now to stand up for Christ. You're not even that strong right now to really, really be truthful with yourself, let alone be truthful with him. Because it's so hard to be truthful with him when you're not truthful with yourself. Because you have so much junk in you, you have so much stuff lodged in there that you're not willing to confess it and say, yeah, there is a problem here. Now that I'm sitting there thinking about it, I've had these people tell me over and over and over, something's not right with me. I look at my life and I go, man, if somebody could not see God's hands in my life from a little child to where I'm at today, I don't know what the heck you could say or what he could show or what I could say that can convince you otherwise. I shouldn't be here. Days like today, I wish I wasn't here. But I've been feeling like for the last probably 2.5 months, worst in the last 2.5 months. In the last 2 weeks, I've been feeling it worse and worse. That and I didn't realize until today when I heard Darlene say, "Look at him. He's a big guy. I can't pick him up." And that's when it dawned on me that, wow, you know, I go through what I go through. I go through the pain what I go through. I'm going through this hopelessness. I'm going through this where you just can't focus. And then I got to sit and think, wow, you know, now it's affecting her in ways that I knew it was. I I've said it a lot. How in the world can it not? I don't ever take out of the equation what she's going through. When I talk about these things that is going on with me, it's not that I'm taking anybody else out of the equation because I'm not. What I'm saying is we got to even watch comparing ourselves sometimes to what someone else is going through. Good example is when you're going through something in life and somebody says, "Hey, how you doing?" And you say, "Well, how's the pain on this?" And you start to tell them, "Well, that's okay. That's no problem. My knee, my back, and this stuff. They had to do this and that." Why are you even asking them? Why don't you just tell them what's wrong with you? I would rather somebody do that than show that kind of disrespect, and that's exactly what it is, because you really don't really want to know. And you may say, Nelson, that's not true. Yes, it is true. Because if you ask somebody a question and don't give them an opportunity to fulfill the answer, and then you want to bring everything you have to say in it, or you're one of them people that constantly got to control that conversation, then you wonder why your life is the way that it is, because you can't control every conversation. You're not learning anything. You are becoming the Pharisee. Not my words, so don't come against me. Take it up with Jesus. Because what I'm telling you right now, take it up with Jesus, not me. I'll be willing to take the heat. I'm used to it. I was talking to my son a little bit ago on a text message and asking him how life is because I haven't heard from him again. It's like, I understand they work. I understand he works another job at nighttime and stuff and that's to live the life he wants to live. I understand that. My thing was I didn't live the life I wanted to live. I lived the life so I didn't have to go deal with what I was going through. It was a way to be out. It was a way to be away. But, you know, sometimes you just send a message just to see what their thoughts are. And then I sent a message back, pretty much flipping the revolt, what they said, I just flip it back on them going, you can't miss something that you don't have. You can't miss if you love somebody, okay, let's just use love, okay? If you love somebody so much and you go through life being respectful and trying to do your very best by them and living that life to where you're showing them love and respect and going through each day. But when something is gone. I don't know what the world that meant. But when something is gone, that's when you miss it. Because you're so used to just putting it on the back shelf or on that back burner, they say. You're so used to putting it back there, you don't ever miss it. You read a good book and you put it back there. Well, maybe one day I'll pick it up again and I'll read that good book again. Yet you never get back to it. See, and that's how our lives are. We never get back to it. We never get back to where that devotion time. We never get back to that. But yet when it's missing, because when that day comes and you're took your last breath, that's when you see the circus, people. That's when you see all the nonsense. That's when you see it all. Because I tell you right now, there's a lot of things that I'm beyond up to here with. And I keep telling the Lord, you got to take this from me. I mean, if this is my punishment for things that I've done in my past, I accept it. He told me, why then should I punish you if you've already confessed it to me? Okay, that's fair. Because just like I told you, I got to be careful what I bring back into my life. I got to be careful what I bring back into God's kingdom. I got to be careful what I allow Satan to walk into that room and sit down at the table, because he's going to sit every time he's going to start turning them wheels backwards in your life, because he wants you to live in that life. He wants you to be stuck in that life. He wants you to look at your life and go, everything is your fault. And lately, that's all I've been feeling. Everything's my fault. Everything's my fault. And I keep going, Lord, why do I feel this? Why? Because never, 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 ever, ever did I ever thought my life was going to end like this. Listen to what I'm saying now. Never, never, ever, ever did I think my life was going to end like this. Tomorrow is not a given. Today is. There's a reason why God still has me up this late at night. Because the days are short. The nights will go quicker. Soon we'll be turning the clocks back, but the clock doesn't add the time. There's still 24 hours in the day. It's just how you use the 24 hours. Yes, 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 yes. The clock just ain't going to hit 3 o'clock in the morning as fast, but it's still going to hit 3 o'clock in the morning. It's still going to hit 3 p.m. That is a given. Unless your battery dies. Unless power goes out and you never reset your clock, and then it's going to be right 2 times out of the day, but it's still going through a 24-hour period now, isn't it? What if you left your clock on AM? Well, then I guess it's only right 1 time a day. Are you willing to take that once to be right? Are there 2 times a day? Are you willing to just sit back and look at your life now and go, hmm, well, let's see. Let's just see. That's what's coming, people. Don't believe me. It doesn't matter. Yes. Big waste of nothing. Just words. Just words. You know why? Because you take it however you want. I was praying there for a while, and I asked the Lord, I said, if people take the ones that really can't do anymore, How many people do you think that would really be that deserves it? God's given you a time to get it right. God's given you a time to examine yourself. God's given you the time to start listening to people that speak something into your lives. Pain is pain. There is no pain we could ever go through that He did not suffer more than we did. That's why I've been trying to tell Him, help me not use what I'm going through as that crutch. Help me get through the day. I was watching a movie upstairs a little bit ago, and I know I fell asleep. Woke up, and Darlene fell asleep. He was sitting on the couch. I was sitting in the reclining chair. I looked over at a split moment, and all I could think was, where's everybody at? She's the only one that stood by my side through this. And it hasn't been easy on her. I know it hasn't been easy on her. And I keep trying to apologize for for how this becomes. It's not easy. And I'm not saying it's easy on her either, but it's not easy going through this. Sometimes we get broken beyond what we can take, people. And sometimes there's no return back from it. Sometimes God has a bigger purpose that we may never see. Sometimes we don't live through sicknesses. Sometimes we drown in the heartache of dealing with it. But sometimes you get a big relief at the end that it's finally over. Then you feel guilty for thinking that. This was the person I loved, and I feel guilty now that I no longer have to go through this. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. There's nothing, whether it was a parent, a spouse, a child. There's nothing wrong with that. A burden is a burden. It becomes what it becomes. There's nothing wrong with feeling how you feel because it's not in our DNA to have to go through some of this stuff. Now, there's some people that's stronger at doing it than others. But I can tell you one thing, after a while, everything starts to beat you down because it's not your everyday life. It's not what you signed up for, but it's what God has called you to do, whether you realize some things or not. There's some people got that, I believe, that gift of helping people. And I believe that gift is a precious gift. I would trade anything that God has given me to be that way, but I'm not that way. I can only help at times. I can't do it cheerfully, so I don't do it. Because I see the wicked that's involved with it. I see the lies that circle around like in the cartoons when somebody punches somebody and the birdies are flying around their head. I see the lies. Plain out see the lies. But what are you going to do? That's the question. Are you going to go to God tonight and say, I can't do this on my own? A lot of this makes sense. I've been following the wrong pathway. I thought I was on the right pathway. I'm not perfect, God. But who is? There you just went into the wrong direction. Because now you're playing Satan, whether you realize it or not. I'm not perfect. Who is? But at least I do this and this and this. You're bartering with God now. You might as well wrote the book of Job. When it becomes tough, people flee. Your so-called friends leave. But if you're broken, There's only one man that can save you. That's Jesus Christ. If you're too busy looking at your life over top of everybody else's, give it to Jesus. If you're too busy seeing yourself, you know what I want to say, give it to Jesus. There's nothing wrong with having a conversation, but when you overcome the conversations and nobody has the time to talk. I used to take the kids when they weren't listening all week long, and I kept telling them, kept telling them, kept telling them. And on my day off, I would bring them there and make them sit down. Most of the time it was on a Saturday. Just make them sit there at the table. No phone, no nothing, just sit there. Oh, they were so miserable. And I remember one time Darling said, you know they're not listening to you right now. I said, it ain't about them listening. I'm just going to keep talking and keep talking and keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. And they want to take my time all week long and not listen and not do what I'm asking them to do. I'm going to keep them from doing whatever they had for the day. Was it right? Did they learn from it? Were they displeased? Eventually, it all starts to sink in. But what do you do? What do you do? You live life, fallen dreams, hopes. How many of us wanted to be movie stars, have a band, have lots of money? Hmm. Be on the newscasts, do the weather, be somebody important, maybe be the president, maybe be in the Senate, maybe work in the House, maybe be a lawyer, maybe work on the stock market. Go to school, you pay all that money, you're in debt. God help me pay these bills off. God help me do this. And you're not even using your degree. God doesn't need a degree. He doesn't need a title. He doesn't need all that. Jesus didn't send the disciples and go, hey, look, I choose you 12, but you got to go to college tomorrow, okay? You're going to be in debt forever. But it doesn't matter. You know, you may say, well, Nelson, then why do we buy houses? Well, you know why? Because we're not supposed to have property taxes. We're not supposed to have all the stuff that this world throws on us. You're never going to be free. You're never going to be free from this house. You're going to work on it. You're going to pay on it and pay on it, pay on it. No matter what you do, you're paying on some kind of property. You're paying on a lot fee, or you're paying this property tax. Whatever you're doing, it's just a matter of what's going to be the cheapest for you. What's going to be the best for you. You know, we've been talking a lot about God and what He wants. And, you know, if it's your will, God wants you to be happy. You understand this? God doesn't want you not to be happy. But God doesn't want you to ask for foolish things either. He's never going to give you something that it's no good for you. Get that through your head. Just because you want a brand new car, but it's not the brand new car. If you have a different car, if somebody dropped off a car to you tomorrow and it was a 2014, well, no, that's not what I wanted. It's a new car to you, isn't it? Maybe that brand new car you want, you can't afford it. Maybe you're going to end up getting it repoed. You ever stop and think about that? I never thought that I was going to end up like this, and luckily, I'm getting workman's comp for it. Well, payment wise, but I'm still losing money. But I'm not, because God's providing everything we need. I miss a lot of things. I really do. I think what was once normal for me is no longer normal. Even if they do make it to where I'm fixed enough to go back to work, It's never going to be the same. Never. It's like I said, that last time when I fell, it's changed me. The day well, I fell one or two times after that, but I'm talking about the time when I fell in the garage and hit my head on the bumper, flattened that chair. We're all worried about the wrong things. We're all looking at the wrong place. You got it wrong. You got it wrong because you're broken yourself. You may say no. Really, start examining yourself. Start looking at your life real hard. See what tomorrow brings. I'm gonna end this for tonight. Not that I'm tired. I am tired, but I could sit here and talk for another hour, 2 hours. I think over talking sometimes you just stop listening. And really, to be honest, I mean, I don't even know why I go and check it, but I mean, every time I end one of these, it tells me how long someone was on here, or the duration of the time that they listened. Doesn't matter, because I know God's going to lead the right person that needs to hear this broken and how to make ourselves ready. Some of you got it wrong. I'm telling you, so wrong. How do you expect God to bring you? Think about it. God bless you guys. I love you. Till the next one.